Om Shanti, everyone, and welcome to Global Harmony House. Our program for this evening is going to be wonderful as usual, and thank you for coming and enjoying the meditation commentary that we started out with. I'd like to invite our host, our MC for the program tonight, Sister Michelle. How are you tonight? That's great. We'll mime it again, not a problem. Unmute. No. Hold on to allow you to talk. Okay, I'm not hearing Michelle. Is anybody else? Kanupriya?
Not able to hear too.
Okay. We are thinking that things are going to be fine, and Michelle is going to panic a little on screen for us while she tries to figure out how to have her voice join in with all of us. And as she figures it out, there might be some sort of a plug. One of the things that we always find out in these insights is we have a vision of greatness and glory for all of you, and sometimes we fall a little short. But sometimes we exceed our capacity and our ability to do that. And so I'm going to ask Michelle to sign out and come back in, and maybe that will restart things. And she was going to say wonderful things about our guest tonight, and that is our sister Kanupriya, who I have met at our retreat center in Peace Village, and I believe that she is coming to us from there. And Michelle, are you back in? You're back in, but your microphone isn't working for us. Wait, one more thing, hold your finger up high, and that usually makes great success happen. And almost, your microphone shows that it's on. Has to unmute you. Okay, that's not what it says here. Let me try. We're doing a little clicking. Did that help at all? See if that does anything. Okay, as far as I know, it's not from this end. However, we will no, we're going to be okay. So we're just going to go, Michelle, not hearing you yet. You keep trying, but going to allow Sister Kanupriya to be a co-host, and going to invite you to share the thoughts that you have on tonight's topic. So Sister Kanupriya.
Thank you, Brother Eric and Sister Michelle, for being here. And just maybe I could introduce myself in a line or two. So like Brother Eric mentioned that I am from Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center in upstate New York, and quite delighted to be here. Thank you for the very warm welcome, and thank you for joining on this lovely evening. Today, I just want to share my experiences that I have gained over the past few years of practicing Raj Yoga meditation. And the primary benefit has been the happiness, the lifestyle of happiness that I have been able to live by in this spiritual life that I'm leading, and want to share all the experiences with you also. I hope that we have a great time together. I'm quite sure about it. And so today's coming to today's topic. The topic is an appointment with yourself. And I was just thinking, that in this world of appointments, we live by appointments these days. And do we really need another appointment? Right? We are full. Our schedule is full of appointments. If we see, if whether it is at work, whether it is personal life, doctor's appointment, handyman's appointment, um, you name it, and we have to, even to meet a friend, we have to have an appointment these days, or even family members, right? So there, Sister Michelle, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yay. Hello. These are all tests. I all have to, this fits in with my holiday spirit. Thank you everyone for, I just went to another computer center. Welcome, welcome. And I actually don't want to interrupt you because you were doing beautifully, but can I introduce you properly?
Sure.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you for indulging me. And I'm sorry, everyone, but that is just how it is. So tonight, as our sister has pointed out, that it is an appointment with yourself. Welcome, everyone, to our Thursday Insightful Conversations. I am your host, albeit silent, not so silent anymore, Michelle. This is the holiday season, and it's time to celebrate. But we're going to explore why we need to make an appointment with ourselves, in addition to an appointment with an IT specialist so we can hear ourselves. But this is a very important time, and I was looking forward to this, sister, because I need this. I'm feeling that angst and that expectations in the holiday season. I just want to introduce you to Sister Kanya Praya. She is an MBA trained in the field of finance and management and working as a consultant. She's been exposed to many spiritual practices since childhood. And with Raja Yoga, she's discovered a lifestyle and a thinking that helps her to be happy. She wants to share her experiences and her practical aspects of this exploratory journey through this talk. And many of you who have joined us before knows that this is a practical approach to finding your inner contentment and happiness. She is currently a student and a teacher at Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center of the Brahma Kumaris in the Catskills. And if you haven't been to Peace Village, I suggest you go there. When it's fully open, it really should go. It's really quite special. So I'm going to call you back. I apologize for the technical difficulty. And also just want to remind everyone, my Lokic family, my tradition is in Judaism, and that's why you're going to see that little Hanukkah or menorah in the back. So that's part of this too, a festival of lights. Much like Diwali, it is the festival of lights right now. And I know, sister, you're going to bring some light into our lives right now. So thank you so much. Om Shanti.
I don't know, how do you wish for Hanukkah, but I hope you have a good Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that warm welcome. And yes, so appointments galore, and we are here to listen to or find out why this appointment with ourselves is so very important, and to understand that we have to understand also that where is it that our mind is in today's world all the time. We are so externally focused, we are always looking at outward things, because there are so many things that we have to do in a day, and in our lives we want to, Sister Michelle mentioned, there are so many expectations from the self, from others, and we want to fulfill them all. And so we are, most of the time we are externally focused, and our appointments in the external world are also geared towards that. So in that, as if we sort of forget ourselves, forget to even speak to ourselves, forget to understand ourselves or just talk to ourselves, right? And the more we see that we are able to connect with ourselves and give that time to ourselves, whether it's a few minutes or how much ever is possible, that makes a huge difference in the way we start to look at the world outside as well. So the more we focus on the inner world, then we are able to also deal with the outer world in a much better manner. We are able to see the positivity in the outer world as well. Otherwise, we start to as if uh, be burdened or feel burdened, be bogged down by whatever is happening around us. There may be things happening at work, there may be things happening in the family and with health or whatever else, right? So in order to not feel that pressure and to happily deal with whatever else, it is very important to have this appointment with ourselves. And the one thing that we will also look at more in detail is that we have to understand that we cannot change anything in the outside world, right? It will be the way it is, or it will be always changing. It is so dynamic. But what we can do is to stabilize ourselves in in our inner world, and then we start to as if bring in the right perspective for the outer world as well. So just to have a very practical approach to this appointment with yourself, I'm going to use a flip chart, and I hope you can see my flip chart. And there are some very um, um, childlike sketches that you will see just for fun and some humor. Um, but yeah, so this appointment with yourself, so just getting to some basics, like what do you do to have this appointment with yourself? So of course, like any other appointment, we first fix a time for the appointment. And the appointment, whether it's a, for example, doctor's appointment, right? We schedule the appointment at a particular time, then we know that what are we going to the doctor for, right? For example, whatever health issue we may be having. So have an agenda for the appointment in mind before you fix this appointment. Yeah. And fix a seat. So once you go in for the doctor's appointment, you know where the patient needs to sit, right? So fixing a seat just means, just for ourselves to know who we really are. And in today's talk, we are going to spend a lot of time in understanding who we are. And once we know, like in the doctor's case, right, if we know that the doctor is a specialist in so and so, and we get to know more about him, and the doctor also gets to know more about the patient, then they can engage in some productive, fruitful conversation, right? And that forms a big part of the appointment itself. And the outcome of the appointment completely depends on what sort of engagement or conversation between the two have happened, right? So if we were very clear about our problems, in this case the health issues that we were presenting to the doctor, then he would be able to, and if he's a good doctor, he'll be able to diagnose it well, and then give us some kind of solution or cure. So some outcome that we are looking at, that is dependent on the knowing of who is it that we are speaking with and engaging in a good conversation. So coming to knowing who is it that we are speaking with when the appointment with is with ourselves. So this ourselves, right, is no one but Kanupriya, right? So now, is it Kanupriya that I'm going to speak with, right? Or is it someone else that we are talking about here when we are speaking to the self in this case? And for this, we need to really understand who this self is. So the knowing who we are actually consists of two main parts, you can say. One is understanding who we are, and the other is also experiencing that that who, or the I that we are referring to. And spiritual wisdom actually tells us that this I, or the real me, the inner self, the inner being, is actually different from Kanupriya in my case. And so knowing this inner being, and we call it the inner being of light, uh, is who we are trying to know about or understand about. And so first, to know about this inner being, we have to first understand what our current worldview is, right? And if we look at the way we look at things currently in the world, we are uh, very much driven by our sense organs, our perception, our thoughts, our feelings and emotions. All are pretty much governed by what we can sense with our sense organs. And to explain this, I've drawn this very simple diagram. For example, an insect, right? An insect may, for example, may not have the sense of sight, very limited sense, maybe just the sense of touch and maybe sense of smell. So the insect's worldview is very limited to whatever he can sense through. It can sense through the sense of touch and sense of smell. So, for example, an insect cannot really perceive, or the worldview cannot be that of, he may not know about the stars and the moon and so on and so forth, right? The sky. So, um, so the insect's worldview is limited to that. Coming to maybe another, organism, or let us say a bird, right? And now a bird may have few more senses, and based on that, those sense organs and that perception of the world of the bird is um, a more broader, right? The horizon has expanded from this limited worldview of the insect when we come to the worldview of the bird. And similarly, now human beings have 5 sense organs, right? So based on that, we are able to perceive many more things, and our view is broader than the insect and the bird in this example. So now what we are trying to also uh, sense here, or come to a conclusion here, that is it that what the humans can sense, or the 5 sense organs from the human beings, what it they can perceive, is the world limited to just those senses, and what the human beings can? So if you look at some migratory birds, right, or homing pigeons, we will see that they are able to hear, and they are able to sense a sound at which human senses cannot understand or hear. And even light in some cases, they are able to see what the human eyes cannot see, right? The ultraviolet rays and things like that. So it is very much possible, right? And spiritual wisdom is telling us that whatever human beings in the physical sense can perceive with the organs, the world is actually not limited to that. That world is um, the is beyond, right? There is a world that is beyond the world that the human beings and the sense organs can perceive. So um, that brings us to what we call the experiencer, right? So one is that our worldview currently is sort of limited, we can say. But now with spiritual understanding and with the knowledge that we are receiving, we get to know that of a world that may be beyond what the sense organs can perceive. So let us call that being, or um, the person, or the inner being, right? Who can perceive the world outside of the sense organs as just looking like a star, right? Or we can call it the experiencer. Now, this experiencer, we call it just looking like a tiny point of light or looking like a star, um, is the one who is not physical in nature. It's non-physical in nature, cannot be seen, cannot be touched, cannot be heard even. Yeah. But we know that he's the experiencer, because if we look at our own lives from childhood to, say, someone who's 80 years of age currently, uh, when we ask this man who's 80 years of age, he will say that in my childhood I was doing so and so. It was me who was doing it, and he will refer to the time, his childhood time, as he was present there, right, in his childhood, the same person. If we look at it scientifically or medically, if the body of the child, and say John, let us take the life story of John. So the the body of John in childhood and the body of the 80-year-old John, there is not even one single cell or atom which may be same, right, in the body of the child and the adult. But still, the experiencer is the one, this tiny point of light, the non-physical being, is the one who says that there is an experience of childhood and adulthood, and that experience has changed. But the experiencer, this inner being of light, remains the same. And this is, if we are able to understand this, that this is the experiencer who's not, again, who's invisible and cannot be um, cannot be is not physical in nature, right? Is the one who is perceiving things and developing some kind of worldview, right? So this is important for us to understand that currently the worldview is limited, and we are trying to expand our worldview in this appointment with ourselves, by knowing this true self. So we can also say that that uh, this experiencer actually in a way is imperishable, right? The body, the organs, the cells are regenerating and changing, but the one that is constant is the experiencer, who is imperishable. So I hope it is clear, and if there are any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. So moving on to the to knowing this experiencer more, what has happened that if we were to perceive the experiencer as it is, right? As just a point of light or looking like a star, the inner being, and to see that experiencer is different from the body and the experience also. So there are two different things happening. There is always a beginning to an experience and an end to an experience, right? So whether it is the experience of the child in this case, there is a beginning and an end. And similarly, there will be a beginning and an end to the experience of life in the 80s, right? And anything, whether that experiencer goes to a music concert or anything like this, then there is an experience of the music concert, but at the end of the music concert, that experience has ended, right? And then a new experience starts. So there is always a beginning and end to an experience, but the experiencer remains constant, right? And he's the one who's perceiving the world um, from whatever he's understanding and experiencing. So to know now more about the experiencer in the clean state or in this manner, just as the experiencer and the inner being, that is the best way to connect with ourselves or have an appointment with ourselves and to engage in a conversation. But there is a big but. So I want to take an example here, that even if I understood this much, right? And there was a time when I thought that I will have an appointment with myself for 3 days, right? So go into silence and, just contemplate, reflect, and be with myself. And uh, just create a lot of good thoughts about whatever is going on. But when we actually go into this mode of silence, right, and conversing with ourselves, that is when this clean state or this experiencer state may not be very easy for us to bring onto our mind. And why is that? The one reason is that it is when we are in that relaxed, calm state and we are giving time to ourselves, is when all the thoughts and whatever was going on in our mind, but we were not aware, something not in our conscious mind, but maybe somewhere in the subconscious, we were not aware, all those feelings and thoughts will start to come up in the forefront of our mind. And that is a very strange thing that happens, right? We become aware of things that we were not aware of when we go into this kind of silent reflection or appointment with ourselves, right? And so we actually need to understand a little bit more that why is it that all these thoughts from the day's happenings or whatever, somebody behaved in a certain way in the past, or worries about the future, what's going to happen with my job and this and that, all those thoughts, why are they coming up and how do we deal with them when we are having this appointment with ourselves? Um, so to understand that, what we understand better is our interaction with the outer world, right? So currently, if we were to see our interaction with the outer world, whether it is related to our job and money, and whatever physical objects we may be we may be using. It may be a chair that I'm using, a car, or the house that I live in. There are other relationships that I am interacting in and communicating on a daily basis. It could be that I'm a mother of someone. It could be that I am a sister of someone, right? So there are so many relationships that we are taking care of in our daily lives. Then there is nature and birds and, weather and climate change issues that we all are so concerned about. So all these factors, right, is what is actually currently um, totally occupying our headspace. So our mind is filled with thoughts about the physical world, or what we call the outer world. And in this appointment with ourselves, why we are going into this, the example that I was giving about myself, that when we are fixing a time, we are making that effort to be with ourselves and to talk to ourselves. Why is it that these thoughts about all these things are coming up at that time? It is just because of one reason, and that reason is what we call identification. We are identifying with the job or the car that we have, or the house that we live in. And one big identification area is the body that this experiencer is using. So like in the case of the child and the adult, we saw that the body has completely changed, but because there is identification that the body is me, there is this this expression that it was me who actually was in childhood and was also the adult. But if we see that the experiencer is constant, and the childhood and as well as whatever is happening with the body um, is just an experience that has a beginning and an end. But really coming into this being of light, who's into the awareness of this being of light who's constant, the experiencer, then we will be able to relate, or to really we will be able to talk to our true self. And we will learn more about how knowing about this true self and its qualities, its virtues, its powers, what is the original experience like of this true self. We will be able to talk to ourselves also much better. And the outcome that we were talking about in our appointment will be a happy outcome in that case, right? So coming back to the identification, um, the only thing that is blocking us from coming into our original experience and the experience of the true self is this identification, or what we call false identification. Is when we start to think that depending on my degree, that I'm a doctor, for example, that awareness brings doctor's awareness brings about certain thoughts and feelings and emotions related to the doctor, right? So for example, if I were to be shown a piece of bread, a doctor is shown a piece of bread, then his interest in the bread, or the way he perceives the bread, understands the bread, is going to be very different from the person who made the bread, or a baker, right? A baker will look at it as a means of livelihood. Somebody who's eating the bread, for example, anybody, right? Anybody who's eating the bread will look at the bread in a very different manner. And a person who is, say, an engineer may look at the bread. He may be more interested um, um, in the bread making machine and those kind of things, right? So the kind of awareness that I am in decides how I perceive that same object, the bread, right? So uh, this is where when if we are in this false identity state, for example, doctor, or that I am a owner of a Tesla, for example, or I hold such a high post in my job, for example, then based on that false identity, we will have certain thoughts and feelings based on that awareness of who we really are, right? So currently also, uh, we have to check when we think about ourselves, what is it that comes to mind? Usually it is something, that I have done, or I have studied, or that I'm working as, and so on and so forth, or the way I look, the physical appearance of the body. So those kind of things, you know, is what we are thinking about all the time. But now, what we are doing in this appointment with ourselves, and in this knowing of the self, is to know more about the true self. And in the last few minutes, we saw that this true self is the one who is the experiencer, who cannot be perceived with the physical eyes, so does not belong to this physical world, but belongs to the non-physical world. And the non-physical world is completely different from the way physical world is. Now, the physical world is a world of matter, right? This non-physical world is completely invisible. And so the experiencer is also invisible. And in the non-physical world, there is nothing changing. In the physical world, we said that, everything is changing. You don't know whether, this tree is going to be there tomorrow or not, right? Whether when you walk out of the door, whether the car will start or not, right? Whether it will start to snow. Right now in Peace Village, it is snowing and raining. So you don't know what will happen the next moment, even with relationships, whether the person you love the most is going to talk to you the next moment or not. Unpredictable, right? So everything in the physical world is changing and unpredictable. In the non-physical, everything is constant. And the constant feelings of the non-physical world, or the what is constant in the non-physical world is, there is um, a, a feeling of happiness always, and a feeling of peace always, because this world is also a world beyond sound. There is silence in this world always. And because there is no false identity state, there is a clean experience of peace. There is no expectation from anyone or even with ourselves. In this non-physical world, we are completely just looking like a point of light, and coming into that real experience of the point of light. So just knowing that there is a world which is non-physical, invisible, and something that is constant, that gives a lot of security to to our experience and to what we feel about ourselves. So the more we connect to this inner being of light, the invisible experiencer, and to see that the interaction in the physical world of this invisible experiencer is temporary, and he's just using the body, and the interactions with other objects are just experience for a short period of time. Everything has a beginning and an end in this physical world. There is nothing constant. We connect with that constant state of the true self and the original experience. So, just to summarize what we learned about the true self now, to engage in the conversation by thinking more about the non-physical world and our existence as the invisible constant being of light, who's temporarily interacting with the physical world. We see that we start to look at things very differently, even in this physical world, the more we connect with this being of light, the experiencer. And one way to make our appointment successful and productive is to, journal and take notes about this appointment that we just did with ourselves, to make it a recurring appointment also. So we will see that the more we come into this original experience of the experiencer, we will actually start to view the world as a positive experience, and slowly the negative thoughts, the unnecessary thoughts start to as if be replaced by these thoughts of the original self. For this, we need to make that effort to make an appointment with ourselves every day. And a good time to make this appointment is in the morning hours, sometime before you wake up, and also in the evening time before going to bed is a good time to make this appointment. And journaling, like I mentioned, if that is possible for you, then journaling really helps to keep that appointment with ourselves, and that make that commitment not to miss it, even if it is for 5 minutes in a day. It makes a lot of difference if we are able to speak with ourselves and keep up with this appointment. So I'm just wondering, Sister Michelle, if there are some questions, or we could do a question.
Yes, I do see some questions, but I have a question. I had, especially now, and I could speak from experience, I know I do my best to be with myself every morning, and on days, and you'll just have to take this on face if you don't meditate and you don't spend time with yourself. If for one reason or another I do not, my day literally flies out of control. I can notice the difference between a day where I stop and gather myself and be with myself. I have to be my own best friend. I mean, I'm with myself 24/7, but the days that I say, okay, well, I can't, I'm too busy, I have to go to work, the day is entirely different than a day where I take the time in the morning for myself. So it's almost like that faith that it's true. As someone who is relatively new to the Brahma Kumari study and practice, it's only been a little over 4 years for me, but the change is remarkable. And as I wanted to ask you, it is a practice. That's why it's called a practice. In other words, you talk about how long. People will come to me and say, well, I can't do it for long. It builds. It's like any other, like when you go to a gymnasium in the physical body, you can't run, people start, running. They don't run a mile right away. It takes time. And it's exactly, for me, the same thing. The more you do it, and the closer you get to that inner self, In other words, I'd rather do it short and get it than to do it for a long time and lose it. Can you speak to that? How do you know you're being effective? In other words, it's not the time, it's really the quality of the time with yourself. Can you speak to that a little bit? That's
Yes.
my question, to give people a taste of what it could possibly feel like. It's not the time, it's the quality.
Right. Yes. So the way I measure quality for myself in the time that I spend with myself is twofold, right? One is um, how much was I able to concentrate on what I thought I would. In the case of appointment, I said that I will fix an agenda for myself. So if I thought that, for example, I will explore more, this quality of happiness that this inner being has, and that to constant happiness, no matter what is happening in my physical world or the story that is taking place, right? So in that appointment time, how much was I able to concentrate on happiness without getting distracted by this? And what helps in concentration is the other aspect that I want to talk about is accuracy in understanding. So we all have taken that first step to, listen to whatever we are listening to, the spiritual knowledge that we are listening to, but accurately understanding the self, who this self is, and how that self that is being referred to is not someone outside, right? That is me. So that accuracy actually helps in concentration also, and then quality comes in automatically as a so.
Mhm.
So taking that step to understand accurately by listening to more, by studying, and whatever else, by interacting with people who are able to share more about this inner being, and concentration. For concentration, the moment I notice that there are thoughts from which are distracting me, just telling the mind very gently, like a child, right? Just guiding the mind that this is not the time for me to think about these things. Let us refocus on this agenda that I set for myself, just for 5 minutes.
And it does get stronger. It absolutely does. It's remarkable that the change. I know we have a question. Let me just open it up. Okay. It says, sometimes the 80-year-old self, like one's mother, accuses the younger self of not having the true self. How could the sun see the light? Okay, the sun meaning the solar sun see the light. That, in other words, that the older person, I guess, is accusing the younger person of not having the true self. And how could the sun? I'm not sure. The sun. Oh, son. He means. In other words, I guess the mother is accusing the younger self of not having the true self. How could the sun see the light? The sun, S-O-N, see the light. I don't know if you could make someone see the light. I think that's the crux of it. You have to set an example, and that's how, through your practice, I know for myself, and I'm going to let you answer, but one thing that I've noticed, rather than talking about things, people see my behavioral change and they wonder, what is that? And they want to emulate that. They want a piece of what I feel and the way I act, and they gravitate to me. Can you speak to that? Like this question about the sun. How do you make the sun see, that he's not his true self? It's a good question.
Yes. So, the amazing thing about what we are learning here in Raj Yoga is that we are not looking at changing anything outside, not looking at changing anyone outside of ourselves.
Mhm.
Every change is directed towards us, the self, the true self. And like Sister Michelle, how you very nicely put it, right? So that's the only way I can look at the son in this case, right? In this case, if the son were to really connect to the true self for himself, then looking at the mother's role as just a relationship, an interaction in the physical world, right? um, which is also temporary in nature. And
Mhm.
the moment we start to really connect with our own true self, then we are able to look at others also in this original non-physical experience, not looking at the mother so much then, but also looking at this point of light, who is playing the role of mother at this time,
Right.
and to see in that clean state what we say,
Mhm.
the self and also the other, whoever, mother, father, whoever, right? Maybe my manager at job, right?
Mm.
Everyone is also this point of light, but for us to come to that state where we are able to see point of light, we have to work on ourselves first,
Right.
connect to our own true self.
Right. This is a very profound discussion. It is not simple. It's something that you have to work at, and it's only through practice and experiencing it. It's experiential. It's not even knowledge. Our intellect cannot even fathom it. I notice once you taste it, you want more. And and it also comes, we didn't speak about it, but it comes from a love. You talked about that happiness. When you're in that place, how do you feel? It's almost inexplicable how content you feel, because the sorrow comes from the relationships with matter and with other relationships, because it's going to end, and it's that control. You don't want it to end, but it has to end. That is just the physical world. So once you can leave that aside and recognize that you are forever and imperishable, it makes you lighter. It takes away that stress of thinking, oh, this is why can't I control this, and why is this changing? But it's hard to describe. Even in physical, it is something that's not in the world, it's beyond. But you've done a masterful job of explaining it. I really think you have. And it's something I want to tell. Oh, Brother Eric recorded this, because I'm going to have to watch this again, because there were so many beautiful things that you talked about that can be applied. So the way you explained it was just beautiful. I was wondering, let me see if there's any more questions, but I was wondering if you can give us a practical, like a guided meditation that might be able to bring us closer. Are there meditations that we can use that would help bring us, to at least taste what you're talking about?
Yes, sure.
Yes. Okay.
It's a good idea.
That would be lovely. Mhm.
I
So
just
we're gonna let
word.
go of the world around us.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So
That light that that this costume has is never going to go away. It will never go away. Michelle will not be here, but the light behind Michelle will be here. I believe that with my heart and soul, that that was there before this body. It's going to be there after this body. And to get to that point every day, wow, what a gift. Because it's there, the memory is there, and when you touch it, it's like an electric spark. it's quite, but I don't get it as often as I'd like, but I have tasted it and it's really remarkable. Hopefully everyone in this, the participants get a taste of that drink, if you will, of the beauty of who we really are. So can you help us through?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
So we choose any sitting posture that is comfortable and relaxing the body, keeping the back straight, upright, keeping the mind alert. And we take just few minutes to become aware of our surroundings. There is light in the room, there is furniture, and maybe people around, and sound, nature outside, paintings, whatever. Just becoming aware of what is outside with an aim to withdraw. And gently steering the mind inwards. In the mind, there may be thoughts lingering from the past. What happened in the day? What happened 10 years back, yesterday? Or there may be thoughts of anticipation of the future. Just become aware and gently guide the mind to step aside and step inside, connecting with that experiencer, the inner being of light. We can use the image of a tiny star. The experiencer is aware that the experience in the body has a beginning and an end. What the eyes are seeing now will change. What is being heard by the ears will also change. What is being perceived by the nose, the sense of touch, everything is bound to change. Every experience in this world of matter, the physical world, is temporary. And so it is obvious that it is not important if it is temporary. What is more important is to connect to that world that is constant. The world that exists forever. That world is a dimension of light. Very different from the world of matter. That world is invisible and subtle. Just like the experiencer who's invisible and subtle. This world is where this being of light belongs. This being of light stays a being of light forever. Imperishable as a being of light. Everything in this world that is non-physical is constant. There is a constant calm in this world. Constant sense of joy. Constant feeling of being loved, worthy of love. Constant freedom. By just being the point of light. No association with the world of matter, not even the body. Just see it, just this minute, as separate, independent. The point of light, independent from the body, from anything to do with the world of matter. Free. This freedom is the original experience of constancy. As not being bound by limitations and boundaries of the world of matter. And keeping this freedom in our awareness, the constant existence, this being of light in our awareness. We come into the physical world and see our interactions with anything in the world of matter as temporary. And with great joy and happiness, we interact with everything in the physical world, knowing that it has an end. Everything has an end. What doesn't change is this point of light. So for the rest of the evening, we aim to keep this appointment with ourselves. And every evening, make it a recurring appointment. Just to connect with the constant self. Thank you.
Oh, well, I didn't want it to end. That was so beautiful. What a beautiful meditation. And thank you for giving us a gift, reminding us of a real gift that we can give to ourselves every day that costs nothing, that we get great benefit of. So much of us during the holiday, we're running around, we have to get the right gift for someone, but the most important person is yourself. And what a gift you've reminded us of that we can give to ourselves, that grace. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful discussion. Thank you so much for that. It was just marvelous. Thank you. So, everyone, and keeping up with the holiday season. Next week, the whole month is Delighted Hearts, and my heart is full. Thank you so much, sister. It was just lovely. Next week, we're going to have, I guess, also something related to the holidays, is generosity endangered. I'm going to vote no. It is not. Certainly not among those of us with Devki from the Caribbean, and I believe my sister Louise will be joining or coming tonight, and brother Eric, thank you, and thank you for allowing me to be the MC, and I apologize for the earlier technological difficulties. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Kanupriya. Thank you all for coming to the Insight at Harmony House. See you next week. 7 o'clock's our talk, but 6:30, a great chance for your meditation. So happy Hanukkah, happy December, happy everything. See you next week. And again, Kanupriya, thank you so much. Om Shanti, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Kanupriya. It was beautiful. Thank you.